Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Tuloy natin ang meeting. This time, ano bang ating tatalakayin? In auditing, one of the most important things in auditing, internal control. We continue learning from the topic, and this afternoon, early evening, we have three reporters to talk on internal control. Almendras, you may start the preparation. Good. Parating pa lang ni Almendras.
Wait lang po.
Okay. So three will be sharing to us what they have read, what they have learned about internal control. Almendras, you may start the preparation.
Communication involves providing an understanding of individual roles and responsibilities pertaining to internal control over financial reporting. It includes the extent to which personnel understand how their activities in the financial reporting information system relate to the work of others and the means of reporting exceptions to an appropriate higher level within the entity. Open communication channels help ensure that exceptions are reported and acted on. Ang communication daw ay ginagamit para mas maintindihan ng isang tao ang kanyang tungkulin at responsibilidad. Kunwari, inassign ka na ito yung gagawin mo, ito yung magiging role mo, ganun. Open communication is when the sender and receiver share all the necessary information. Nakakatulong to para matapos ang inassign na task kasi malinaw na sinabi yung gagawin mo. Communication takes such forms as policy manuals, accounting and financial reporting manuals, and memoranda. Communication also can be made electronically, orally, and through the actions of management. Ang policy manuals, accounting and financial reporting manuals, and memoranda o memo ay ginagamit para makipag-communicate. Pwedeng through electronically or digital, yung mga email, ganun. Orally kapag verbal and actions of management, ito yung mga application to small entities, information systems, and related business processes relevant to financial reporting in small entities are likely to be less formal than in larger entities, but their role is just as significant. Small entities with active management involvement may not need extensive descriptions of accounting procedures, sophisticated accounting records, or written policies. Communication may be less formal and easier to achieve in a small entity than in a larger entity due to the small entity size and fewer levels as well as management's greater visibility and availability. Ang information system at communication daw ng small entities ay less formal kumpara sa large entities. The fourth component of internal control is control activities. Control activities are the policies and procedures that help ensure that management directives are carried out. For example, that necessary actions are taken to address risks that threaten the achievement of the entity's objectives. Control activities, whether within IT or manual systems, have various objectives and are applied at various organizational and functional levels. Ang management directives contain policies and procedures na sinusunod ng employee sa company para ma-achieve ang objective. Ang control activities ay actions na ginagawa para ma-minimize ang risk. The controls can be performed manually or it is built into a computer-based system. The major categories of control procedures are A. Performance review. B. Information processing controls, which includes 1. Proper authorization of transactions and activities. Ibig sabihin, the transactions must be authorized and executed in accordance with management's intent. Number 2, segregation of duties. It is intended to minimize the occurrence of errors or fraud by ensuring that no person has ability to initiate and conceal errors in the minimal in the normal course of their duties. Number 3, adequate documents and records. Wait lang po, maingay. Number 3, adequate documents and records ensures that assets are properly controlled and transactions are properly recorded as to account, amount, and period. Number 4, safeguards over access to assets. It means limiting access and controlling the use of assets. And number 5, independent checks on performance. Ensure the reliability of accounting information and efficiency of operation. Letter C, physical controls. A brief discussion of these control procedures follows. A performance review. In a performance review, management uses accounting and operating data to assess performance and it then takes a corrective action. Gumagamit ng accounting and operating data ang management para i-review ang performance at kapag may nakitang mali ay itatama at sisiguraduhin hindi na ito mauulit. Such reviews include comparing actual performance or operating results with budgets, forecasts, prior period performance or competitors' data or tracking major initiatives such as cost containment or cost reduction programs to measure the extent to which targets are being met, investigating for performance indicators based on operating or financial data, such as quantity or purchase price variances or the percentage of returns to total orders. Next, reviewing functional or activity performance, such as relating the performance of a manager responsible for a bank's consumer loans with some standards such as economic statistics or targets. Personnel at various levels in an organization may make performance reviews. Performance reviews may be used by managers for the sole purpose of making operating decisions. For example, managers may analyze performance data and base operating decisions on them because the data are consistent with their expectations. This type of review improves the reliability of the data. However, when managers follow up on unexpected results determined by a financial reporting system. Performance reviews become a useful control over financial reporting. Ang personal o tauhan sa isang organization ay pwedeng gumawa ng performance review. Ina-analyze at ginagamit ng manager bilang basehan ang performance data para gumawa ng operating decision. Letter B, information processing controls are policies and procedures designed to require authorization of transactions and to ensure the accuracy and completeness of transaction processing. Sa madaling salita, ito ay controls na ginagamit para i-check ang accuracy, completeness, at authorization ng transactions. Control activities may be classified according to the scope of the system they affect. Mayroong two types of controls related to information technology. Una, general controls at pangalawa, application controls. General controls are controls that prevent or detect errors or irregularities for all accounting systems. General controls affect all transaction cycles and apply to information processing as a center, hardware and system software acquisition and maintenance, and backup and recovery procedures. Application controls are controls that pertain to the processing of a specific type of transaction, such a payroll or sales and collections. These controls help ensure that transactions occur, are authorized, and are completely and accurately recorded and processed. Examples of application controls include checking the arithmetical accuracy of records, maintaining and reviewing accounts and trial balances, automated controls such as input data and numerical sequence checks, and manual follow-up of exception reports. Ang general control ay tumutukoy sa lahat ng mga computerized application na nag-prevent o nagde-detect ng error. Samantalang ang application control ay specific control na kung saan ay sinisigurado na ang transaction ay authorized, complete, and accurate. General IT controls are policies and procedures that relate to many applications and support the effective functioning of application controls by helping to ensure the continued proper operation of information systems. General IT controls commonly include controls over data center and network operations, system software acquisition, change and maintenance, access security, and application system acquisition, development, and maintenance. These controls apply to mainframe, and end-user environments. Examples of such general IT controls are program change controls, controls that restrict access to programs or data, controls over the implementation of new releases of packaged software applications, and controls over system software that restrict access to or monitor the use of system utilities that could change financial data or records without leaving an audit trail. General IT controls ay controls na ina-apply sa lahat ng system to ensure that the proper development and implementation of applications. Internal controls relating to the accounting system are concerned with achieving objectives such as transactions are executed in accordance with management's general or specific authorization. Ito yung proper authorization of transactions and activities. All transactions and other events are promptly recorded in the correct amount, in the appropriate accounts, and in the proper accounting period so as to permit preparation of financial statements in accordance with an identified financial reporting framework. Ito naman yung sinasabi ko kanina sa adequate documents and records. Access to assets and records is permitted only in accordance with management's authorization. Ito yung sa safeguards over access to assets. Limited lang dapat yung may access sa assets. Recorded assets are compared with the existing assets at reasonable intervals and appropriate action is taken regarding any differences. Ito yung sa independent checks on performance. Yun lang po.
Okay. So there, about the different controls. What is information processing controls? Nakikita natin, merong general controls at merong application controls. Kailan ang control nagiging general, kailan ang control nagiging application. So, we have also went through the performance review na isa sa mga control procedures na ginagawa under control activities. So, lumilinaw na, hopefully, at this point, yung ano ba talaga internal controls, ano? So, meron niyang performance review Meron niyang uh, application controls and general controls. And then we will move further by listening to the next reporter, Villegas. You continue. Ano yan, cellphone? I, Mapapalaki pa ba yan? Yan, yun, yun. Okay, maganda. Okay, we start speaking.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ay, good evening na. Ay, hindi. Good afternoon. Control activities related to the processing of transaction may be grouped as follows. Number one, proper authorization. Number two, design and use of adequate documents and records. And three, independent checks on performance. Number one, proper authorization of transactions and activities. As suggested earlier, authorization for the execution of transaction flows from the stockholders to management and its subordinates. Before a transaction is entered into with another party, certain conditions must usually be met. As a part of the evaluation of the potential transaction, documentation will be created. The auditor uses this documentation to determine whether business transactions are properly authorized. For example, the purchase of inventory, we create a purchase order, a receiving report, and an invoice. By inspecting these documents and comparing them with company policy, the auditor may be reasonably satisfied that a business transaction was authorized and executed in a manner consistent with company policy. Proper authorization practices prevents invalid transaction from occurring. Approval for various transactions is a necessary control to help ensure that all business activities or transactions adhere to established guidelines and masunod yung company policy. Segregation of duties. An important element in designing an internal accounting control system that safeguard assets and reasonably ensure the reliability of the accounting records is the concept of segregation of responsibilities. No one person should be assigned duties that would allow that person to commit an error or perpetuate fraud and to conceal the error or fraud. For example, the same person should not be responsible for recording the cash received on account and for posting the receipts to the accounting records. Kunyari, si letter A, siya yung may hawak or si person A, siya lang yung may hawak ng assets or custody of assets. Then si letter B, siya naman yung may hawak nung accounting records. Segregation of duties is critical to effective internal control. It reduces the risk of both erroneous and inappropriate actions. In general, the approval function, the accounting reconciling function, and the asset custody function should be separated among employees. When this function cannot be separated due to small department size, a detailed supervisory review of related activities is required as a compensating control activity. So segregation of duties is a deterrent to fraud because it requires collusion with another person to perpetrate a fraudulent act. Example, the person who requisitioned the purchase of goods or services should not be the person who approves the purchase. Pwede din na the person who approved the purchase of goods services should not be the person who reconciles the monthly financial efforts. Hindi lang dapat isang tao lang yung bukod yung activity ng dalawang tao, yung isa sa assets, yung isa naman sa records. Adequate documents and records. The use of adequate documents and records allow the company to obtain reasonable assurance that all valid transactions have been recorded. It is effective and user-friendly documents, whether within IT or manual system, should be designed and introduced to all users to ensure that all assets and transactions are correctly accounted or recorded. Dapat na ang all documents such as time cards, invoices, purchases, orders, and cheques should be pre-numbered to ensure past location of any of them. Necessary documents should be prepared at the time of transaction to ensure completeness of information. All, docu- all documents should be designed for multiple use to ensure that all parties involved will obtain the same information. And also, all documents should be constructed to encourage correct preparation. Clear instructions are provided in the document to guide the users to complete the document step by step. Access to assets. The resources of a client can be protected by the establishment of physical barriers and appropriate policies. For example, inventories may be kept in a storeroom or negotiable instruments may be placed in a safe deposit box. Appropriate company policies are adopted so that only authorized persons have access to company resources. Safeguarding of asset is more than establishing physical barriers. A client should design its internal accounting control system so that documents authorizing the movement of assets into an organization or out of an organization are adequately controlled. Access to equipment, inventory, securities, cash, and other assets is restricted. Assets are periodically counted and compared to amounts shown on control records. Independent checks on performance. The objective of a well-designed internal accounting control system is the adoption of procedures that periodically compare the actual asset with its recorded balance. Regardless of the effectiveness of an internal control system, some transactions may not be accurately recorded, and some assets may be misappropriated. An important part of an internal accounting control system is to determine the effectiveness of recording policies and assets access policies. This is accomplished by periodic counts of assets by the client and comparing the counts to the balances in the general ledger account. Example are the count of inventory and the preparation of monthly bank reconciliation. The need for independent check arises because internal controls tend to change over time unless there is a mechanism for frequent review. Employees sometimes may forget or intentionally fail to follow procedures, or they may simply be careless. Thus, the work of an employee should be independently verified by another member of personnel. For example, the senior salesperson prepares the daily sales report at the end of each day. Then the sales department supervisor checks the accuracy and completeness of the daily sales report by comparing the report to copies of sales invoices for the same day. Physical control. Control that encompasses the physical security of assets, including adequate safeguards such as secured facilities over access to assets and records, the authorization for access to computer programs and data files, the periodic counting and comparison with amounts shown on control records. Use of physical precautions is the most effective measure to safeguard assets and records. For example, storing inventory in a locked storeroom under the control of a team of competent security guards to guard against theft, carrying out periodic checks, and counting fixed assets, putting important documents away in fireproof cabinets, allowing only authorized personnel to have access to the accounting programs and data files, and also doing regular backups of electronic data and records and storing the backup disk and drives in some other safe locations. The concept underlying control activities in small entities are likely to be similar to those in larger entities, but the formality with which they operate varies. Further, small entities may find that certain types of control activities are not relevant because of control applied by management. For example, management's retention of authority for approving credit sales, significant purchases, and drawdowns on lines of credit can provide strong control over those activities, lessening or removing the need for more detailed control activities. An appropriate segregation of duties often appears to present difficulties in small entities. Ibig sabihin, kung hindi ka maggagawa or magsa-segregate ng duties ng mga employees, magiging difficulties siya sa isang entity. Even companies that have only a few employee, however, may be able to assign their responsibilities to achieve appropriate segregation, or if that is not possible, to use management oversight of the incompatible activities to achieve the control objectives. Kung hindi tayo magsa-segregation of duties, hindi natin maa-achieve yung control objectives ng isang entity. Monitoring of controls. Monitoring, the final component of internal control, is the process that an entity uses to assess the quality of internal control over time. Monitoring involves assessing the design and operation of controls on a timely basis and taking corrective action necessary. Management monitors control to consider whether they are operating as intended and to modify them as appropriate for changes in condition. In many entities, internal auditors evaluate the design and operation of internal control and communicate information about strengths and weaknesses and recommendation for improving internal control. Good internal control can prevent more defalcations than good auditors find on a timely basis. Auditors are required to obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit. It is essential for auditors to be aware of the interrelationship between internal control and the rest of the audit. Hence, auditors should acquire sufficient knowledge and experience in order to comprehend the control activities at the business process level. Some monitoring activities may include communications from external parties. For example, customer implicitly corroborate sales data by paying their bills or raising questions. Also, bank regulators, other regulators, and outside auditors may communicate about design or effectiveness of internal control. While internal control is a process, its effectiveness is an assessment of the condition of the process at one or more points in time. Just as control activities help to ensure that actions to manage risk are carried out. Monitoring helps to ensure that control activities and other planned action to effect internal control are carried out properly and in a timely manner, and that the end result is effective internal control. Ongoing monitoring activities include various management and supervisory activities that evaluate and improve the design, execution, and effectiveness of internal control. Monitoring activities may include using information from communication from external parties that may indicate problems or highlight areas in need of improvement. Customer implicitly corroborate billing data by paying their invoices or complaining about their charges. In addition, regulators may communicate with the entity concerning matters that affect the functioning of internal control. For example, communication concerning examination by bank regulatory agencies. Also, management may consider communication relating to internal control from external auditors in performing activities. performing monitoring activities. Management role in the internal control system is critical to its effectiveness. Managers, like auditors, don't have to look at every single piece of information to determine that the controls are functioning and should focus their monitoring activities in high risk areas. The use of spot checks of transaction or basic sampling techniques can provide a reasonable level of confidence that the control are functioning as intended. Yun lang po.
Okay. So very good. Was You should be able to pick up so many details from the report, the how to implement uh, strong internal control. We are seeing examples, towards seeing a strong internal control system. Okay? Now, mention there many controls that you may apply in a business entity, and also how we can categorize all those controls. Now, the objective is to have a strong internal control system for the company to be in the right track towards achieving its goals, control. So that is internal control as we see it different, different from whatever there is that external control, but we are focusing our attention here, the internal control within the organization. Now, next is we go to, let us see we go this time to seeing uh, questions appearing in the reviewer in relation to this internal control, He next to speak, Kasabal.
Yes po. Start na po, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Sir Roy. Tonight, I will be continuing reviewer from consideration of internal control in a financial statements audit. Item 151. A university does not have a centralized receiving function for departmental purchases of books, supplies, and equipment. Which of the following controls would most effectively prevent payments for goods not received if performed prior to invoice payment? Centralized receiving function, ito yung designated area with a designated personnel na siya'y tumatanggap ng lahat ng deliveries, invoices, nag-verify ng quantity at quality ng product delivered. Ano ba pag sinabing payment for goods not received? Ito yung error na nangyayari sa party supplier, kung saan dahilan ng pagkawala ng item sa pangangalaga ni supplier or yung loss in transit. Pwede din dahil sa fake or fabricated na resibo or yung fictitious invoice na tinatawag. So, sino nga ba ang magte-take over ng control kung wala sa designated person? A. Vendor invoices should be approved by a departmental supervisor other than the employee ordering the goods. B. Invoices over a specified amount should be approved by the Vice President of Finance. C. Names and addresses on vendor invoices should be compared to a list of department-authorized vendors. And D. Vendor invoices should be matched with department purchase orders. The answer is A. The departmental supervisors would most likely be aware of all goods received by their departments. Thus, approval of vendor invoices by departmental supervisors would most effectively prevent payments for goods not received. Of course, si designated person ay marahil under din ni supervisor. So kung wala si personnel, si supervisor ang dapat mag-take over sa responsibilidad ni designated personnel. Answer B is incorrect because the Vice President of Finance does not receive incoming goods.
hindi pwedeng si Vice President na mag-take over ng control. As a root word na finance, although related sila, magkaiba pa rin ang finance department at purchasing department. Answer C and D are incorrect because comparing invoices with list of authorized vendors and matching invoices with purchase orders do not provide evidence that goods were actually received. Item 152. To minimize the risk that purchasing agents will use their positions for personal gain, an entity should A. Direct the purchasing department to maintain records on purchase prices paid to be reviewed every 6 months. B. Request internal auditors to send confirmation requests to selected vendors. C. Require competitive bidding. D. Specify that all items purchased must pass quality control tests. The answer is C. The purchase of goods through competitive bidding will reduce costs and the possibility that purchasing agents will have side agreements with vendors. Masyado ng diskarte ang mga tao nowadays, lalo na pagdating sa workplace. Merong tao na ginagamit yung position nila para mas kumita ng malaki, which is hindi tama. So para mas maiwasan ang ganitong pangyayari, may preventive measures ang mga company sa mga ganitong instances. Isa na dito ang competitive bidding. Halimbawa, si company may production, kailangan ng raw materials, present ang mga suppliers sa bidding. Maglalatag ng mga price list itong mga supplier. So mamimili si company ng mura pero pasok sa quality. Dito pa lang malalaman agad ni company yung amount na kailangan ilabas. The controls described in answers A, B, and D are detective, not preventive controls. Item 153. The following are appropriate questions on an internal control questionnaire concerning purchase transactions except A. Are all goods received in a centralized receiving department counted, inspected, and compared with purchase orders on receipt? B. Are intact cash receipts deposited daily in the bank? C. Are pre-numbered purchase orders and receiving reports used and accounted for? And D. Are unapproved purchase requisition and assigned purchase order required for each purchase? The answer is B. The question about the daily deposit of intact cash receipt relates to the revenue receipt cycle, not the expenditure disbursement cycle. Yung revenue receipt cycle, ito yung mga business activities na si company ang nag-provide ng service or nagbenta ng products. In return, babayaran siya ni customer. So, hindi siya papasok sa purchase. Doon siya sa sales transaction. Ang expenditure naman and disbursement cycle, ito yung mga purchases ni company kay supplier. For example, si company yung bibili ng raw materials or service kay supplier. Then, babayaran ni company either cash or cash equivalent si supplier. Sa company kasi, hindi ka basta pwede mag-disburse ng cash or checks. Madami pang process ang ginagawa ng accounting department kasi yung mga purchases ni company, may dedicated fund yan na tinatawag o yung may nakalaan talaga na fund. Itong fund na ito for purchases and other expenses lang ni company. Yung mga recorded sa account ng fund na ito yung makikita sa cash outflows ng company. Item 154. The following questions ordinarily appear in an internal control questionnaire on cash disbursements except A. Are pre-listings made of all cash receipt? B. Is a check supported by an approved voucher? C. Are imprinted and pre-numbered checks used is a check protection device using printing and the check amount? D. Are all disbursements except for petty cash made by check? The answer is A. Pre-listing of cash receipt is part of the revenue receipt cycle. Cash receipt means sales ni company. As I said, si company ang kumita, so sa revenue receipt cycle siya papasok. Item 155. In a well-designed internal control, the same employee may be permitted to A. Prepare receiving reports and also approve purchase orders. B. Approve vouchers for payment and also have access to unused purchase orders. C. Mail signed checks and also canceling supporting documents. D. Mail signed checks and also prepare bank reconciliations. Answer is C. In a typical cash disbursement system, approved check vouchers and supporting documents are forwarded to the cash disbursement department. Sa company, hindi ka basta maka-disburse ng cash or checks. Basta may ilalabas na pera sa company, may kalakip na vouchers yan or supporting documents. Lalo na pag check disbursement. Lahat ng information na nakalagay sa check, tulad ng payee or yung supplier, check amount, check number, at yung date, ito yung nakalagay sa check vouchers. Kasi itong mga check vouchers na to, formality yan or patunay na nagbayad ka kay supplier. Kasi permado din yan both ni supplier at ni receiver. This department, having a custodial function, is responsible for signing checks, canceling supporting documents, and mailing signed checks. Answer A is incorrect because approving purchase orders is a function of the purchasing department. The receiving department, responsible for the preparation of receiving reports, should not know the quantity ordered. Answer B is incorrect because vouchers are approved in the accounts payable department, and only the purchasing department should be allowed to access the unused purchase orders. And answer D is incorrect because the bank reconciliation should be performed by an employee who does not have a custodial responsibility. Item 156. Which of the following is of least concern to an auditor in assessing the risk of material misstatement? A. Signed checks are distributed by the controller to approve payees. B. Checks are signed by one person. C. Cash receipts are not deposited intact daily. D. Treasurer does not verify the names and addresses of check payees. Answer is B. That checks are signed by only one person does not necessarily signal a weakness in the entity's internal control system, as long as the signatory does not have incompatible functions and proper verification of supporting documentation is done before signing. So kung magpapaiba-iba ng signee o yung taga-pirma sa check, halimbawa, pag magbabayad si company kay dealer through check, si board president ang pumirma ng check. The other month, nagbayad ulit through check, si treasurer naman ang pumirma. The other month ulit, si executive naman. So doon pala sa paiba-iba ng check signers, pagdating ng audit assessment, makikita na agad ni auditor ng material statement ang financial position ng company. Hindi naman required na isa lang dapat ang check signer, pero pagdating sa audit assessment, kailangan malinis at walang conflict ang ilalatag na financial statement para maiwasan din ang material statement record. Answer A is incorrect because the controller who performs a record-keeping function should not have access to signed checks. Answer C is incorrect because daily deposit of intact cash receipt should be required to minimize defalcation. Answer D is incorrect because the treasurer should sign checks only after verification of supporting documentation has been performed. That's all for tonight. Thank you po.
Okay. So, very informative. Okay? And again, so many that you will be able to pick up from that piece of report. No? Okay, so there ends our lesson this evening. You're able to see portions of bigger whole, no? Bigger whole. Okay, so we got to the again last number of our activities program, and that is the screenshot attendance. Okay, so this is Rain. Are you there? Prepare for our for today. And then smile. Kung ano man ang nagpapalungkot, kalimutan. Kahit pa kunwari, smile. Smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So, malapit na naman yung midterm. Ano aking itatanong? Oh, marami akong pagkukulan, no? I'll just go over the questions appearing in the reviewer, ano? So, yun lang. Para ah, hindi kayo mahirapan, ano? But be prepared na may add other questions na very similar to sa inyong mga na-encounter na questions in auditing. Ayun, nag-ring. Okay, beautiful picture. May I see? Kung maraming smiles. Smiles, smiles. Okay, very good. I can see beautiful smiles from beautiful faces. Good looking, everybody. Bye-bye. Till we meet again.
Thank you po.
Thank you.